Hey, thanks for joining. In this video we're going to look at the creation, how it works, and how you can create or discreate reality. Welcome. Avatar Academy is my channel and we go through everything. Game of life, how things work, how you can wire your brain for success, how you can dissolve reality, create magic, employ that, know yourself as God beyond space and time. Everything, I mean everything and nothing. Because the Buddhists, they were big on nothing. And so, if you're not following, do that now. And let's look into what is presented here. I am a talking head with a beard on your screen, right? And you seem to be another one of the same type. And we are using words, language, discourse. So we communicate with this language, and language sometimes has words that represent objects in reality, like this jar here or a flower pot. And then there are more abstract terms like a container or infinity or agitation. Okay, so some words are nouns, some are verbs, and like what is this, Jovan elementary school? Well, if you heard before, words create reality, and I'm going to show you how that works. So bear with me with some basics. So we got words, yes. And how does our brain process words when we are in awake state? Well, what it does, we are first interpreting reality based on shapes, objects, and appearances in front of us that our brain converts into an image. And I'm finding myself in a room full of toys and plants and some art, and you're finding yourself in a space with other objects. And so our lingo, our discourse, our language is also, even though sometimes it might be pointing to more abstract things, lingo is kind of like designed to interpret objects and their relationships. Usually you have yourself as a subject in relationship to an object. I'm doing this. I'm going there. I'm meeting them. Okay. And then also in the language there is this idea of time, because we have tenses that describe something that happened before and something that we're going to do in the future, as well as the infinitive, which is something that's happening in the now. Now, this creates a lot of confusion, right? We kind of describe our journey with this language, but any wizard will tell you, every wizard will tell you, that there is no past or future. All events coexist. All scenes where you're playing the subject, interacting with objects, interacting with the scene, interacting with other players, all scenes coexist. Past exists. Right now, you may be in one space, you were in another space. You may be with me right now, you used to be with some people before that. Actually, these events exist together. Okay. So, future events also, they exist together. So, literally you are consciousness experiencing a carousel of events that create a linear type of story, but the actual time is not an actual thing. Okay, actual passage of time is just a simulation. So you can where you are, you can reinterpret the past, you can reinterpret the future, or reimagine. Okay. And really, it's all about the story that you choose to say. Okay. Now, we may come under the conditioning of using this assumption of time to describe our reality. And then we can say we are trapped in time. We are trapped in three-dimensional idea of time, okay? We're trapped in the passage of time, and we are trapped in the history. And we are trapped in a story where the seeming events of the past seemingly describe who we are, and they seemingly predict our future. Now, none of this is true. Because I will show you by the end of this video, you can reinterpret your whole freaking timeline, your hologram of reality, and what was and what's gonna be. You can really step out of this reality experience and the time experience, and you can reinterpret all of that. But now, let's assume that every wizard will tell you, and this is true, that when you want to play with reality, create reality, you're only working in the now moment. So you are imagining scenes that might be different than what is presented here. Because if I want to create something, let's say, I can see this right here and I can start to imagine that, but I can assume this is already created on the screen of my reality. So I would probably add some flowers here, right? And then I might see just like a flower popping here. Now, imagining is happening in the now. The feelings of your imagination, they're happening in the now. Now, when you're remembering the past, you're calling a construct in your imagination based on a reference. And let's say you had breakfast yesterday and it was an omelette. You can change right now in your imagination. Put yourself in front of a table and let's say you had some toast with some jam instead of an omelette. So in your imagination you can X the omelette and you can put the toast there. Now, seemingly, this is only your imagination. Seemingly, the factual reality, the physical reality is more factual than your imagination, or is it? Well, let's say we talk about changing the past. Let's say you change the image of yourself eating that omelette into bread with some toast. Now, if you would ask somebody who was there with you to tell you, who witnessed you having that breakfast, after successfully changing this image and collapsing the reality or the omni-quantum potential of these infinite parallel breakfasts that you possibly have had yesterday, and then you ask somebody to, like, what did I eat yesterday? And they will tell you, oh, you had some toast with some jam. So people around you will also remember different reality as if that was the timeline and the script of this video game that you're experiencing. Okay, so one thing, there is no actual future and past. There is an idea of it that you can change with your imagination. And this is how you invent things in the future, and this is how you reinvent yourself in the past. It's the same. I love this thing. Okay, so usually we interface with the world in this way. We are a baby and we're just playing in the world, but then we have to learn to walk and talk, so we learn to recognize objects. And we learn and we build this operating system of subject interacting with the world of objects, that is your body, your baby self, interacting with the world, touching the fire, and actually there was just a big boom outside, so you touch something and boom, and you get startled, right? So now you subjectively see that object, you're like, I don't wanna, right? And this becomes your conditioning. And it is related with your physical survival, so it's very good that you have this, but then it also becomes an operating system through which you perceive and interface with reality. And then the subtitles, or the ego, how we describe ourselves as a subject within the reality, becomes a story of this body in correlation with those bodies, okay, or those scenes. So now it's all, I am separate someone in the world of objects, and I am this subject. And this is how the language is oftentimes constructed now. Become aware of the stories that you are telling, so it's always like, a lot of times at least, it's you perceiving other people and other objects differentiated than your body. And so with using this language, we reconfirm this all the time. So we're going to use a different brainwave length for this little guidance, for this little observation that I am presenting. I don't know, I just like to be theatrical. I don't know why I'm doing that. I guess I should also Osho. I guess I should Osho it. I should Osho it. I should just be like, seeming world of objects. It is. I should also mention the creative and destructive principles by the end of this video. Oh yes, that's gonna be juicy. Yum, 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 yum. So juicy. Okay, so we're gonna mention the yin and the yang, the black hole that just eats everything away, and the white light that is, just make everything happen, please, just okay. Because we even differentiate those two things within our mind as if they were, black and the white. Actually, they are one and the same, but we'll come to that, and that is also necessary for your little wizardry. Okay, wizardry, that's a new word. Okay, so let's go out then out of the dialectical mind. Oh yeah, I need to also take you with me. Alright, let's go out of this immersion with reality where we see everything in the room as objects. Now, we're gonna use imagination. So I invite you to perceive stuff around you, and you have names for this stuff now. I don't know what kind of stuff you have, but I have a mug with some tea, and obviously this is not me because I am this and this is something else. And then you have in the space around you other stuff. Now this is going to be really interesting now. Now instead of noticing, notice actually first there is a relationship how you interpret these things. Like you already know, your mind knows the meaning of things. That is a table, that is a window, that is a box. So you're already kind of like prepped to interface as this body subject with the world of stuff. And this is what you do on everyday waking state. Yes, so that's good. But now instead of noticing different things, just notice the space. Notice the depth of space. in which these objects reside, but don't focus on the objects. Focus on the depth of space. Focus on the width of space. Focus on the height of space. Notice also that you're noticing behind you and in front of you. Maybe you can notice like a ball around you, just a ball of space. So how are you noticing the space? It is with your awareness. Let's usher it. It is with your awareness. So with your awareness, you're noticing space. Yes? I want you to imagine now that in your awareness and in this space, instead of the object that you are seeing, it's just a white screen. Now, you don't have to close your eyes. You can also superimpose this imagination onto the picture of reality that your brain is creating. Okay? Your brain is creating the actual picture of all of the objects that are around you. Now you're going to superimpose inside of your brain that there is actually just a white screen. There is space that you can feel inside of your awareness, and it's filled with white screen. So just white light, yes? Good. Now I'm going to ask you to imagine that then on this white screen somebody is drawing in the objects that you see around yourself. So you just superimpose inside of your brain a white screen, and then somebody, like, there's a little hand that is coming and is drawing this ball and the plant, and then the plant becomes like a 3D sculpture, and then you're drawing this like painting, and then it becomes solidified, molecularized there, and then every single detail that you see around yourself is just like a hand that came in and created a sculpture or a drawing in 3D space of that. So if you ever use a 3D software, this is exactly how it works. It's just like an empty space, and then you put objects inside, and then when you finish, you press the render button, and it's an apartment. And it has chairs and plants inside. Okay. Now, the big secret. Actually, it's not a secret. What we call source or God or generative aspect of God, the infinite blissful light, is this space full of white energy that is not defined into objects. It is another level of your perception, and you are even able to perceive it through your imagination. So you're not actually ever imagining anything new. You're only playing with the God mind computer console that has all the possibilities already manifested inside of it, and you're kind of like transferring or receiving ideas, potentials, combining, and then thinking. And this is how you use the language, this is how you use the pictures, this is how you use whatever the angels or demons might come to tell you. It all comes and connects into your brain. Ain't that great? So now that you know that there is a screen, you're maybe wondering, okay, but like, I don't really see the correlation from creating an object on an imaginary screen of light, and I don't see that object coming into existence right in front of me. So if you are in a normal frequency where you are listening what somebody is saying to you, like right now I'm talking, so let's say this is the baseline frequency where we humans interact, we talk to each other and blah blah blah, the objects will not appear instantly when you draw them on the screen. Okay, but if you are able to, through meditation or whatever, shift your frequency a few octaves up, you would then experience also yourself in the human body, but the objects just appearing on the screen instantaneously in front of you. And so this is also just natural, and it's very normal, but it's also very normal that we bring the frequency down into the physical experience, where then we start to use language that describes subject-to-object experiences that we call ego, and that we are in a different octave where objects still happen to manifest and situations, but in a kind of like slower pace. There is more latency between your idea and the materialization, because this works like a movie where you can do like a million things at the same time, like, you know, desire a million things, mood board your life, and then slowly things are gonna come in different configurations. So at this density that we're talking about, the object will not appear in front of you, but there are humans that can definitely, or you as a human can definitely experience imagining the screen, but then also raising your physical frequency, okay, into the screen, and you become sort of like rid of this bandwidth of the mind where I'm blah 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 talking. You just become one with the screen, and then your thoughts seem to like magically pop up around you as things. Okay. Now, because this is a YouTube video where we are talking, I am assuming that we're going to stay somewhere in a more grounded or just more earthly bandwidth, okay, something that everybody's accustomed to. But most certainly, if you want to try to raise your frequency, meditate and you will see faster manifestation, simply because you're going into a lesser complexity reality render. And we are accepting now that in this reality render there is more complexity and there is some latency to manifestation, but we're also following the idea that we are actually creating whatever we want on an empty screen, and that whatever we create on that screen becomes then a little bit later or really soon, but in this ongoing time experience, that becomes our reality. This is how we usually approach manifestation. Now, two things: your awareness and the field, the space, and then imagining the screen, and then mood boarding, changing images like a little artist that you are, will shift your reality. And because your reality is so detailed, then for every single item that you want to recreate, for every single relationship of you to something else that you want to create in a different way, you need a lot of daydreaming. You need a lot of reimagination, reinterpretation of what is already rendered as your physical reality, or the script of what you're playing with other people. Okay, these are also relationships of you with other people are scripts, and you can change these scripts and people in your reality will change. And I mean, like, your mom will change, and your whoever you're seeing, your boss at your job, they might give you a raise if you script it in this way. Okay, and it doesn't have to do with you interacting with these people. It's just you interacting with the screen. Okay. Now, while we're here, I'm going to my leg fell asleep here. Okay, let me adjust this. Ow! Eh! Oh! Cool. So, I had my legs in a lotus. One of them kind of like, died on me. It's cool. Now let me give you another one. When you take something that everybody experience having notebooks, with like white paper, and then you take a pencil and then you create a drawing of a house, object, something, or you write something in your notebook, you write your diary. Now I want you to get a special notebook. You don't have to, but I highly advise it. For a year or two, for a whole year at least, I had no phone, no internet, no money. Okay, I just had like clothes, and I had my dog, and I had my apartment, but I only had a notebook. So I never talked to anyone. I never Googled anything. I never used money or any other way of interacting as subject with the world of objects. To completely bypass and override these interactions, I just sat down with a notebook and a pencil. This was my wizard's notebook. And I would imagine that the piece of paper that I'm writing on is this infinite screen of light, in which all of these objects and my talking head appear. And I would script reality with words. Like you're doing if you are, let's say, a developer, okay, and you just have, I don't know, you open a screen and you have your language, it's Python or some other language, and you code something, and then when you run that code, you get an app or a video game or something like this. Well, the language that I used was not Python, it was the language of ideas, but I used English. And the great thing about the GodMind console is it can interpret any language. So I would describe then ideas on a piece of paper, imagining that I'm writing on this infinite screen that is God's generator, in which all of the things appear, my body, my depth with space objects, right? And literally every thing that I formulated appeared as my reality, and really, really fast, in the next 5 minutes to 24 hours. And so when you're not busy with playing in the external world and playing the subject in the world of objects and just like having all this relationship, when you're in a little bit more empty state, more meditation, then you actually see the screen more vividly and you script reality, you get faster results because you're just not so immersed with like a million things that you can like do when you're playing here in a daily life. Then you get your RAM memory full of ideas and desires and whatnot, and so there's more latency when the GodMind console brings these ideas into your simulator. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So, lastly, I want to tell you about the inverted screen, which is instead of the infinite white light in space with no objects appearing, and there is not you as a differentiating individualized being, but there is just awareness and the screen, and all is one. And in that same screen, same awareness, you have now tea, pots, art, everything else, headphones, beard. So there's also the inverted screen, which is same screen, but instead of white, it's black. Now, this screen is often misconceived by spiritualists because it's like light versus dark. thing. And darkness is destructive in a way, okay, and light is creative in a way. So let me kind of remove the like unnecessary division here. And let's go into non-dual perceiving. In awareness, in consciousness, both light and dark, which is space, appears in awareness. There is no space actually. Light energy appears in awareness. Dark energy appears in awareness. Space, light and dark are the same. Also, awareness is not separate from space, light and dark. They're all the same. They're all one. So when you are creating, you are the awareness that is dreaming the whole freaking universe. The dark screen will remove things from the appearance of your reality. AKA, it will dissolve this appearance, make them disappear. And also, it's always working together with the white screen because it's one screen, it's the same space. By just creating the animation. You see right now on this screen, you're seeing me move. So, if the pixels would get stuck, you would see a glitch and this hand would be moving and here it would be glitching. You would have a freeze frame. So, in order to refresh, your screen has a refresh rate. You have something that is taking every single frame out and then another projector putting new frames in. And this we call the experience of time or life animation. Yes, life. So then the time becomes experience. But see, you, awareness, you're just watching a movie. You are never actually even making an effort. Is the yin and the yang, they're doing the dynamics of life, and you are dreaming already the whole dynamics. The past, the future, whatever happened, whatever can happen, whatever it will happen or might happen, or whatever you will experience, it's all already laid out in the engine. And the engine works through creation, destruction, creates animation. Right? So a wizard will not actually employ anything to create or discreate reality, other than just neutrally seeing what is there. So there's no white magic, black magic. That's not a whole self-realization yet. When people talk about like dark arts or light arts and Jedis and Siths, that's sort of not the final observation. So I'm telling you the final observation. You have the dark, and it's like recycle bin, so it looks scary. Two little beings that are identified with form. You're like, hey, Super Mario, we gotta get away from the darkness, it's gonna eat us. Okay, Luigi, run. And then run towards the light. And then, yes, actually, different insects, they come and they go into the light and then they burn out. In my room, in the summer. So, you want to kick back beyond the appearance of light and dark. As you can be imagining the infinite white light screen, the same things works if you imagine, instead of your objects in your space of your room or wherever you may be, if you imagine only emptiness and you start drawing things into this void, the black matter, the dark matter, whatever you call it, is the same matter, is the same pixel. is a divine pixel is just like either showing light, dark, or everything in between. Okay, so you as a magician, you as a wizard, to really employ something, you have already been given this. When you close your eyes, you have a screen right here in front of your forehead, and this is where your thoughts, images, ideas come. It's your work board and your mood board, and this is where you create your reality. Okay, I'm just showing how this human console and your little tinky winky pad, your head and your brain is well, really just a microcosm or a reflection of how the whole universe is set up. When you go up the dimensions and into the first cause of everything that is appearing here, is the same little principles that create reality that you have installed in your thing. So therefore you are made in the image of God, or actually you are divine awareness playing in a little Play-Doh body, you're made from goo. And you can touch yourself and experience yourself, and then you can make these thoughts and they become stuff. So basically you already knew all of this, yes? Now I'm just pointing to this idea that when you take a notebook and a paper, you can create your reality from there, even if you haven't done anything in the physical reality, even if you haven't employed the third-dimensional skills or whatever, walking, talking, moving. You could be sitting there with a notebook and a pencil, and you could be still rendering realities because you are that source screen that contains the appearance of this reality. At the same time, you are appearing as this little Play-Doh avatar, and you use the language where you construct yourself to be a subjective experiencer in the world of objects. But at the same time, you are the source screen, and the Play-Doh avatar and all of the objects are within you. So mind over matter, or spirit, kind of gives imagination, spirit, it gives an idea, and then the matter, okay, is then impregnated by the idea. It births it into crystallization of this molecular reality. There you go. I'll see you. Bye. I don't know. Check out my panda. Check out my Voltron robot. Bye.